Have you ever walked into a room, seen someone you're drawn to, and suddenly felt like your confidence just evaporated? Your palms sweat, your words trip over themselves, and your brain runs a marathon trying to figure out what to say next. Here's the truth: you're not alone. And the good news: confidence in relationships isn't something you're either born with or not. It's a skill, a muscle, and like any muscle, it can grow fast if you train it the right way. Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift, not because of what someone said, but because of the quiet confidence they carried? You know that moment when someone enters and people just notice them without them even trying. Now, let me ask you this: how many times have you wished that could be you? Here's the thing most people don't realize. Confidence isn't about being the loudest voice in the room, wearing the flashiest outfit, or saying all the right things at the perfect moment. It's about presence. It's about how you feel about yourself before anyone else even has the chance to form an opinion about you. And that presence, that's something you can build starting today. Confidence in relationships isn't magic, and it isn't reserved for a lucky few. It's a skill, a learnable, practical skill that starts with asking yourself one simple question: am I showing up as the person I know I can be, or as the person I think others want me to be? Think about it. Every interaction, whether it's meeting someone for the first time or reconnecting with someone you've known for years, is colored by the energy you bring. If you walk into the room feeling like you need to earn someone's approval, every word, every gesture, every look will come from a place of seeking validation. But when you walk in already grounded in your own sense of worth, that energy shifts completely. People can feel it, and they respond to it. Now, here's where most people get it wrong. They think confidence is about pretending. They put on this mask, trying to appear stronger, funnier, or more impressive than they really feel. But here's the truth: people don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. You don't need to be perfect to be magnetic. You need to be real. When you walk into a room and own who you are, your quirks, your strengths, your imperfections, you give permission for others to relax around you. And that creates a kind of connection that no amount of forced charm can ever replace. Building that kind of confidence starts with small, deliberate choices. It's the way you carry yourself when you walk through the door. Head up, shoulders back, taking up space as if you belong there, because you do. It's the decision to maintain eye contact, not to challenge someone, but to show that you're comfortable in your own skin. It's the quiet power of listening to someone, really listening, without the constant need to prove yourself in every sentence. These are the micro actions that add up, that teach your brain, I am safe here. I am enough here. And here's something people don't often talk about. Confidence is built in solitude. Long before you step into that room, it's in the moments when you keep promises to yourself. When you say you're going to start that project and you follow through. When you take care of your health, your mind, your goals, not because someone's watching, but because you decided you're worth showing up for. Those private victories create an unshakable sense of self that no rejection, no awkward conversation, and no disapproving glance can easily touch. Think about someone you admire, someone you describe as confident. What makes them magnetic isn't that they never stumble or that they always know what to say. It's that they carry themselves with a kind of ease, an inner calm that says, I know who I am, and I don't need anyone else to validate it. That's the kind of confidence that draws people in naturally. And you can build it too, but it requires practice. Practice putting yourself in situations that stretch you, that push you just enough outside your comfort zone so that when the moment comes, you know you can handle it. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. You'll have moments where your heart races, your palms sweat, and you wonder if you're saying the wrong thing. But here's the gift hidden in that discomfort. Every time you face it, every time you survive a moment that once scared you, you train your nervous system to stay calm in the face of uncertainty. That's how confidence grows, not in the absence of fear, but in your ability to keep moving despite it. Most importantly, confidence isn't about being on all the time. It's not about performing or proving. It's about being grounded enough in yourself that you don't feel the need to chase or convince. When you realize you have nothing to prove, you start showing up differently. You start speaking slower, listening more, and choosing your words intentionally instead of trying to fill every silence. And ironically, that calm, unhurried energy is what makes people lean in, curious to know more about you. So the next time you find yourself in that room feeling the familiar wave of nerves creeping up, pause. Breathe, remind yourself, I don't need to be anyone but myself in this moment. That thought alone can change the way you walk, talk, and connect, because true confidence isn't loud. It's quiet, steady, and undeniable. And when you cultivate that, you stop chasing validation and start attracting the kind of connections that feel natural, effortless, and real. Have you ever noticed how much energy we spend rehearsing moments that haven't even happened yet? You meet someone you're drawn to, and before you've even said hello, your brain is running wild. What if they don't like me? What if I say something stupid? What if they think I'm boring? It's like you've already written the entire script of the conversation, complete with rejection and embarrassment, before the first word has even left your mouth. This is where so many of us get trapped, because we convince ourselves that the only way to feel safe in relationships is to plan, to predict, to prepare for every possible outcome. But here's the truth: scripting the future is the fastest way to sabotage your confidence. When you approach someone with a rehearsed line, or when you spend hours deciding exactly how you're going to present yourself, you're not truly present in the moment. Instead of experiencing what's actually happening, you're stuck inside your own head trying to manage their perception of you. And you know what people sense more than anything? That disconnect. They can feel when you're not really with them, when you're too busy editing yourself to just be. Real confidence comes from curiosity, from showing up in the moment with an open mind and a willingness to see what unfolds instead of trying to control it. Imagine walking into a conversation without the pressure to perform. No expectations, no mental checklist of things you have to say to sound impressive, no fear of silence. Just you, fully present, asking genuine questions, and letting your natural personality come through. That energy is magnetic. It shifts the dynamic because suddenly you're not chasing approval. You're simply sharing an authentic moment. People respond to that ease, to that calm presence, far more than they respond to a perfectly crafted performance. And here's what makes this so powerful: when you stop scripting, you make space for spontaneity. That's where real connection lives. Think about your closest relationships, the ones that feel effortless. They didn't grow from meticulously planned conversations. They grew from natural exchanges, laughter at unexpected moments, and the comfort of knowing you didn't have to be anyone but yourself. The same principle applies whether you're meeting someone for the first time or deepening an existing connection. There's a freedom that comes when you release the need to predict every outcome. When you walk into a room thinking, I'm just here to connect. I'm here to see what this person is about. You shift the focus away from yourself and onto the interaction. That simple mindset change turns down the volume on your inner critic, that voice that tells you you're not enough, and lets you show up with curiosity and openness. People notice that. They feel seen and valued when they realize you're genuinely interested in them, not just in trying to make yourself look good. Of course, letting go of the script doesn't mean walking in without self-awareness. It means trusting that who you are is already enough without a rehearsed plan. It's about learning to manage that urge to control, that need to predict, and replacing it with trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, and trust that the right connections don't require you to twist yourself into someone you're not. Practicing this starts in the small moments. Maybe it's walking into a conversation without having a list of topics ready. Maybe it's allowing pauses in a dialogue instead of rushing to fill every silence. Maybe it's admitting, I don't know much about that. Tell me more, instead of pretending to have all the answers. These small acts of vulnerability build an authentic confidence because they remind you that your value isn't in being flawless, it's in being real. One of the most underrated skills in building confidence is learning to sit in uncertainty. When you stop scripting, you also stop clinging to the illusion of control. And yes, that feels uncomfortable at first. Your brain will want to go back to its old patterns, to plan and overthink as a way of feeling safe. But the more you lean into the discomfort, the more you'll realize that you are more adaptable, more capable, and more interesting when you're present than when you're playing a part. This is how true confidence grows, not by perfecting an image, but by embracing the reality that you don't need to have every answer or control every outcome. You only need to show up as yourself, ready to listen, ready to engage, and ready to let the moment unfold naturally. When you do that, you stop trying to impress and start to connect. And that's what people remember. Not the perfect line you rehearsed in your head, but the genuine moment you created together. So the next time you catch yourself overthinking what to say, pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself that your worth isn't in the words you choose, but in the energy you bring. Walk in with curiosity, not expectation. Because the truth is, the most confident people in any room aren't the ones with the perfect script. They're the ones who trust themselves enough to improvise. Have you ever noticed how certain moments, small as they may seem, can completely shift the way you feel about yourself? A song that makes you feel unstoppable, an outfit that makes you walk taller, or a simple ritual you do before stepping into an important conversation. These aren't just random habits. They're anchors. They're tools that tie you back to the version of yourself that already knows your value, even when self-doubt tries to creep in. Building confidence isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about reconnecting with the parts of you that are already strong, capable, and magnetic. That's where the concept of confidence anchors becomes a game changer. Think about it. Most people wait for confidence to magically appear. They wait until they feel ready before taking the risk, starting the conversation, or walking into the room like they belong there. But confidence doesn't just show up on its own. It's something you can summon by creating a state of mind where you feel at your best. Your anchors are the triggers that take you there quickly and reliably. It could be a playlist that makes you feel like you're on top of the world, a fragrance that reminds you of a time you felt powerful, or even a short pep talk you give yourself in the mirror. The point is, you choose something that flips the switch in your brain from "I'm not enough" to "I've got this." These anchors work because your brain craves association. Every emotion you've ever felt is tied to a state, a set of signals your mind and body recognize. When you create an anchor, something you consistently use to put yourself in a confident state, you're essentially training your mind to access that feeling faster each time. Let's say you're about to walk into a meeting or a date and you're feeling nervous. If you have a song that always reminds you of your strength, playing it while you're getting ready conditions your mind to step into that energy. Over time, it becomes automatic. You hear that first beat, and suddenly your shoulders relax, your breathing steadies, and you feel grounded in your own presence. It's not just about external triggers, though. Confidence anchors can be internal, too. One of the most powerful internal anchors you can create is a mental highlight reel, a clear memory of a moment when you showed up as your best self. Maybe it was the time you spoke up when no one else did, the time you hit a personal milestone you thought was impossible, or even a moment where someone you respect acknowledged your value. Visualizing that memory in detail. What you were wearing, how you felt, the energy in the room can instantly shift your state and remind you of who you really are. And here's where it gets practical. Building anchors is a deliberate practice, not something that happens by chance. Start by paying attention to the moments when you feel powerful, calm, or genuinely confident. What were you doing? What music was playing? Who were you with? What were you telling yourself in those moments? Write those things down and start recreating them intentionally before situations where you know your confidence will be tested. Over time, this repetition trains your mind to link those triggers to that confident state so you can access it almost on command. The beauty of confidence anchors is that they work fast, but they're not a substitute for doing the deeper work on your self-esteem. They're a tool, a bridge, that helps you bring the best version of yourself into situations where you might otherwise feel small or unsure. They remind you that the confident version of you already exists. You're just learning how to access it more consistently. Think about the last time you felt completely out of your element. Maybe you were in a room full of strangers at an interview or about to have a difficult conversation. Now imagine if In that moment, you had a simple ritual that grounded you, something as quick as taking 3 deep breaths while replaying a powerful memory, or as small as adjusting your posture while saying, "I belong here." That's the power of anchors. They interrupt the spiral of overthinking and reconnect you to your center. And what's fascinating is how this practice doesn't just change the way you feel, it changes the way people perceive you. When you walk in with that quiet, grounded energy, people pick up on it. They feel it in your body language, in the way you carry yourself, and in the way you engage with them. You don't have to announce your confidence. It radiates without a word. The real secret is consistency. The more you practice using these anchors, the stronger they become. Over time, your brain begins to associate those rituals, those songs, those mental images with your most confident self until it becomes second nature. And that's when you stop waiting for confidence to arrive on its own, because you've learned how to call it forward whenever you need it. Have you ever been in a conversation where you could tell almost instantly that the other person wasn't really listening? They're nodding, smiling, maybe even throwing in a "yeah" every few seconds, but you can feel that their mind is somewhere else, rehearsing what they're going to say next, checking their phone, or just waiting for their turn to talk. Now think about the opposite experience when someone locks in on you, when they're truly present, eyes focused, no distractions, just giving you their full attention. It feels rare, almost magnetic, doesn't it? That's because real listening isn't just polite, it's powerful. And when it comes to building confidence in relationships, there's almost nothing more effective than mastering the art of listening. Listening isn't passive. It's not just sitting in silence while someone else speaks. True listening is active, intentional, and rooted in presence. It's about stepping out of your own head and tuning in completely to the person in front of you. When you do that, something remarkable happens. The pressure to perform disappears. You're no longer caught up in wondering if you're saying the right thing or if you sound interesting enough. Instead, you're focused on understanding, on creating a space where the other person feels heard and valued. And that shift from self-consciousness to genuine curiosity is what makes you more confident without even trying. Here's the thing most people get wrong. They assume confidence comes from talking more, from filling every silence with clever lines or impressive stories. But real confidence often looks like calm. It's the quiet assurance that you don't need to dominate the conversation to matter. When you truly listen, you stop trying to win someone over and you start connecting with them. And people notice. They may not be able to explain why, but they feel drawn to someone who makes them feel seen. The beauty of listening is that it instantly changes the dynamic of any interaction. Imagine you're on a date or in a meeting or even just chatting with someone new. Instead of worrying about impressing them, you focus on asking thoughtful questions and genuinely caring about their answers. You lean in a little, you make eye contact, you reflect back what you've heard to show that you understand. Suddenly, you're not just another face in the crowd, you're the person who made them feel important. And that is unforgettable. This doesn't mean you become a silent observer, saying nothing and just nodding along. Effective listening also means engaging, asking follow-up questions, showing curiosity, and letting the conversation breathe. When you do this, you create a rhythm, a flow, where the other person feels safe enough to open up, and that's where real connection grows. It's in that space of presence and trust that relationships deepen. Because the foundation isn't built on performance, but on genuine understanding. One of the most underrated aspects of listening is how it builds your own confidence from the inside out. When you stop worrying about what you'll say next, your anxiety naturally quiets down. You stop overthinking and start responding in real time. That authenticity, that ability to just be, makes every interaction feel easier and more natural. And the more you practice this, the more you realize you don't need to have all the answers or be the most interesting person in the room to hold someone's attention. You just need to be present. What's powerful about this skill is how versatile it is. Whether you're navigating a romantic relationship, building friendships, or networking professionally, being a great listener makes you magnetic in any setting. People are drawn to those who make them feel understood. And that doesn't require you to be the smartest or the most experienced. It requires you to care, to pay attention, and to show that you value their perspective. And here's a little secret: listening gives you insight. When you're truly present, you pick up on nuances others miss, the subtle shifts in tone, the hesitations, the things left unsaid. That awareness not only helps you connect more deeply, but also allows you to respond in ways that feel authentic and thoughtful. Over time, this builds a quiet, steady confidence because you know you can handle any conversation, not by being perfect, but by being engaged. It's not always easy. In a world full of distractions, where notifications compete for our attention and silence can feel uncomfortable, choosing to truly listen is an act of discipline. But the payoff is worth it. The more you practice quieting the noise in your mind and focusing on the person in front of you, the more natural it becomes. And soon, you'll notice that people open up to you more. They trust you faster and they want to spend more time with you. Not because you said something extraordinary, but because you gave them the rare gift of your undivided attention. Confidence built on listening is quiet but undeniable. It's the kind of confidence that doesn't need to shout or perform because it speaks for itself in the way you make others feel. When you learn to truly hear someone, to be present with them in that moment, you stop chasing approval and start building connections that actually last. Have you ever noticed how the people you surround yourself with can completely change the way you see yourself? Think about it. When you spend time with people who believe in you, who challenge you to be better, and who celebrate your growth, you feel stronger, braver, more alive. But when you're around people who constantly criticize you, question your worth, or make you feel like you're never enough, your confidence shrinks. It's not just in your head. Your environment, especially the people in it, shapes the way you think, feel, and act in ways you often don't even notice. That's why auditing your circle is one of the most important steps you can take to build unshakable confidence in your relationships. Confidence doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in environments that nurture it. When you're surrounded by people who genuinely want the best for you, you start to see yourself through their eyes. Their encouragement becomes a mirror reflecting back your potential. But the opposite is also true. When you're surrounded by negativity, comparison, or subtle criticism, it chips away at you. And the danger is, if you're not careful, you start to internalize those voices. You begin to believe that maybe you are too much or not enough, or somehow unworthy of the kind of love and respect you crave. The first step in building confidence through your environment is awareness. Start paying attention to how you feel around the people in your life. Do you feel lighter, more energized, and inspired after spending time with them? Or do you feel drained, insecure, or anxious? These feelings are signals. They're telling you whether that relationship is adding to your growth or quietly holding you back. Confidence thrives in spaces where you're celebrated, not just tolerated. Here's the truth. You don't have to cut everyone out of your life to protect your confidence. This isn't about building walls. It's about setting boundaries and being intentional with your energy. If someone consistently brings negativity or doubt into your space, it's okay to limit your access to them. You can still care for people while recognizing that not everyone deserves the same level of proximity to your dreams, your plans, and your heart. Building a circle that fuels your confidence means seeking out people who challenge you in healthy ways. Look for those who see your strengths but also push you to grow. These are the friends who will call you out when you're playing small, who won't let you settle for less than you deserve, and who celebrate your wins without an ounce of jealousy. Being around that kind of energy creates a ripple effect. It makes you believe in yourself because you're surrounded by people who already do. It's also important to remember that your environment isn't just about other people. It's about the conversations you allow and the energy you choose to engage with. Gossip, negativity, and constant complaining can quietly erode your self-esteem, even if you think you're just listening. Protecting your confidence sometimes means excusing yourself from conversations that don't align with the person you're becoming. It means curating not just your social circle, but also your digital environment, the accounts you follow, the voices you let into your head, the content you consume daily. The beauty of surrounding yourself with positive, growth-oriented people is that confidence becomes contagious. When you watch someone else taking risks, speaking up, and owning their worth, it inspires you to do the same. You start to mirror the behaviors of those around you, often without even realizing it. That's why it's so important to choose proximity to people who are living the way you aspire to live, not perfectly, but with intention, resilience, and self-respect. This doesn't mean you only seek people who agree with you all the time. True confidence grows when you're around people who challenge your thinking in constructive ways, who give you feedback not to tear you down, but to help you rise higher. That balance, support mixed with honest accountability, creates an environment where you feel safe enough to grow, to try, to fail, and to try again. And sometimes the hardest part of this process is recognizing when someone you love isn't good for your confidence. Maybe it's a friend who always makes subtle digs, a partner who dismisses your goals, or a colleague who thrives on competition instead of collaboration. Letting go or creating distance can feel painful, but protecting your confidence is worth the discomfort. Because every time you choose yourself, every time you create space for people who uplift and believe in you, you reinforce the message that you are worthy of respect, support, and love. When you intentionally build a circle that reflects the kind of person you want to be, you stop seeking external validation and start stepping into your power. You begin to trust yourself more, speak with more certainty, and show up with a sense of grounded confidence that others can feel. Because the truth is, confidence is not built in a vacuum, it's built in the small, everyday interactions that either expand you or shrink you. And when you choose the people, the conversations, and the environments that expand you, your confidence doesn't just grow, it becomes unshakable. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to constantly try to be perfect? To make sure you say the right thing, do the right thing, look the right way, and never ever mess up. It's like walking through life on a tightrope, terrified that one small mistake will make everything collapse. But here's the reality. Most people don't realize confidence doesn't come from perfection. It comes from presence, from the ability to show up as you are, flaws and all, and trust that you're still enough. When you stop chasing the impossible standard of perfection and start focusing on simply being present, something shifts. You stop living in your head and start experiencing life in a way that feels freer, lighter, and so much more authentic. Presence is magnetic. It's what makes people want to lean in, to listen, to connect. When you're present, you're not worrying about what the other person is thinking of you or trying to calculate your next move. You're right there, in the moment, fully engaged. And people can feel that. They can feel the difference between someone who's trying to impress and someone who's simply being. That's why presence is so powerful in relationships. It signals confidence without you needing to say a single word. The challenge is that most of us spend our lives in the opposite state, distracted, anxious, rehearsing the past, or predicting the future. We replay old conversations and wonder if we should have said something different. We obsess about what's going to happen next, worrying about outcomes we can't control. And in that cycle, we miss the very thing that creates connection, the ability to just be here, now, with the person in front of us. Being present doesn't mean you stop caring about how you come across or that you abandon self-awareness. It means you stop letting fear of judgment dictate your behavior. You stop filtering every word through the lens of, will they like me if I say this? And start trusting that the right people will connect with your truth, not your performance. Presence allows you to relax into yourself, to have conversations that flow naturally, to laugh without overthinking whether it was too loud or too awkward, and to express yourself without holding back. One of the simplest ways to build this kind of presence is by focusing on your senses in the moment. When you catch your mind racing, worrying about what they're thinking or how you're being perceived, bring yourself back by noticing your surroundings. Notice the tone of someone's voice, the details of their expression, the way your feet feel on the ground, or even the rhythm of your own breathing. These little anchors bring you out of your head and into the moment, and that shift changes everything. Another key to cultivating presence is letting go of the need for constant control. So much of our anxiety in relationships comes from trying to manage every outcome, trying to make someone like us, trying to avoid rejection, trying to make sure we don't look foolish. But here's the paradox: the tighter you hold on, the less natural you seem. The most confident people are the ones who can sit in uncertainty, who don't need to script every word, who can let the conversation breathe because they trust that whatever happens, they'll handle it. That kind of relaxed energy is what draws people in. Presence also creates space for deeper connection. When you're not busy judging yourself or trying to predict the future, you can actually hear what the other person is saying. You can pick up on subtle cues, their tone, their body language, the emotion underneath their words, and respond in ways that make them feel understood. That's where trust is built. Not in grand gestures or perfectly rehearsed lines, but in those small, genuine moments where someone feels truly seen because you were fully there with them. It's important to understand that presence is a practice. You don't wake up one morning and suddenly stop overthinking forever. There will be moments where your mind drifts, where the old habits of self-criticism creep back in. That's okay. The goal isn't to be perfect at being present. The goal is to notice when you've left the moment and gently bring yourself back. Over time, this practice becomes more natural. You start to spend less time stuck in your head and more time grounded in the reality of what's actually happening right now. And here's the beauty of it: when you consistently choose presence over perfection, people respond. They feel safer around you. They feel like they can be themselves too, because you've created an unspoken invitation for authenticity. And as you notice those connections deepening, your confidence grows, not because you've mastered every line or controlled every situation, but because you've learned that who you are in this moment is already enough. The irony is that the confidence we're all chasing isn't built by doing more, saying more, or performing better. It's built by doing less, by letting go of the pressure to prove yourself and allowing yourself to just be. Presence isn't about perfection, it's about trust. Trust that you don't need to fix or filter yourself to be worthy of connection. Trust that the right people will meet you where you are. And trust that the most powerful version of you is the one that shows up fully right here, right now. At the heart of every great relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or even yourself, is confidence. Not the loud, performative kind that demands attention, but the quiet, steady confidence that grows from self-awareness, presence, and intentional action. When you take the time to build yourself from the inside out, to let go of scripts, to ground yourself in daily anchors, to listen deeply, to surround yourself with the right people, and to show up authentically, you stop chasing validation and start attracting genuine connection. Confidence isn't built in one moment, it's built in the small, consistent choices you make every single day. It's choosing curiosity over fear, presence over perfection, and authenticity over performance. When you practice these principles, you begin to realize that the version of you you've been waiting to become isn't out there in the future. It's already here, waiting to be uncovered. And when you fully embrace that truth, you stop wondering if you're enough, because you finally understand you've been enough all along.